Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with my weekly reads video. This is for week number 42 and it is October the 17th through the 23rd, 2021. So I finished 6 books this week, you guys. Stellar. I am so happy with how my reading has been going. I don't know if it's just a good place I'm in lately and I'm just really loving the books I'm reading, or I don't know what it is, but I'm super happy with the amount I'm getting read and the books that I'm reading. So 6 books to talk about this week. Of course, timestamps listed in the description box below if you want to go ahead and jump to any of the books that I am going to share with you today. So, how this week has gone, I'm sorry there were no other videos up this week. It's been weird. I'm trying to get into some sort of a routine, being back at work 3 days a week. It was before, it was like, oh yeah, if I don't want to film it on a Sunday, film it on Monday or Tuesday, before I start work for the day working from home. But now that I have to drive into work, I don't have a lot of time in the morning. And then by the time I get home at night, it's already dark. So it's a thing. On another thing on the job front, I know I mentioned about Garrett starting a job at Amazon about a month or so ago. I talked about it. His start date was actually this past Thursday, the one that just passed. So he went in and it was a 10.5-hour shift. So all of their shifts are 10.5 hours, and you do 4 days a week. So his days off would have been Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is fine. So he went in and he had been hired originally to his knowledge, to do like a forklift type job, because he's got his forklift license. He's certified for that. And it was, I guess, unloading the trucks and putting product. I don't know. It was something like that. When he got in there with like the 50 other people that they hire all at one time, it was to pick orders, which is not at all what he wanted to do. Not that he has a problem doing that job. He's done it before. He did it for Loblaws and Metro and Sobeys and all the big grocery chains up here. He's worked for those warehouses doing that kind of work. That's not the issue. The issue, and I understand exactly what he's saying, it's like, you're on your feet for 10 hours a day. Yeah, you get 2 half-hour breaks, but you're still on your feet for like 4.5 to 5 hours at a time before you get a 30-minute break. And in that 30-minute break, you got to go to the bathroom. You got to hopefully have something to eat. You don't have time just to sit and, you're busy trying to do other things before you go back to work. So it was like it was like a training day essentially. And he was looking around and he said to me, it was all these, like, to us kids, right? Like in their 20s, like early 20s. And God bless, I love he's 46. Like, he'll be 46 in January. He's like, it's not a job for someone like him. And I agree. And like he said, if the shifts had been like 8 hours, that would have been different. Like, he says, like, I could have done that, 5 days a week, no problem. They should. I understand a lot of these companies want to go to 10-hour days, but they need to think about what the actual workers are doing. Now, I know it's a different situation. I know a lot of you out there are nurses, and you guys do 12-hour rotating shifts and stuff like that, and bless your hearts. But I get what he's trying to say, right? So we had a long talk about it, and it's just not going to be for him. So he didn't end up going back. He's still looking. Stuff is really starting to open up here. So we're hopeful. He still has unemployment insurance coming. So we're not without a paycheck from him, which is great. But yeah, so I just thought I'd give you guys the update because I know a lot of you have been asking and stuff like that. So that's kind of the situation. But for me, I'm still working, of course, 3 days a week and at the office. The other 2 days I get to work from home, which is great. It's been getting busy for us as well, which is fantastic. So it just seems like with work and with the economy, in a way, you can start to see things are starting to pick up from the pandemic. So, but we're still in a pandemic, people. Let's not fool ourselves. Still be careful, but you can see that life is starting to get back to some sort of a normal, which is really great. So all that being said, let's get into the 6 books that I finished this week. So the first book that I finished this week was The Orphan of Cemetery Hill by Hester Fox. I gave this one 4 stars. Thank you very much to NetGalley and to Graydon House Books for sending me an e-art copy of this to review. So they sent me an e-art copy, but I did buy a physical edition when it was released back in September of last year, September of 2020. And I did end up listening to this one on audio. Actually, my library had a copy of it. And pardon me, this is a historical fiction slash, I don't know if you want to call it a magical realism. I'd say definitely more historical fiction, but it's definitely got that mystical element to it. And this was narrated on audio by Lauren Ezzo. So this is the story of Tabby, and it takes place in Boston, starts out in Boston in 1844. And Tabby and her sister, it's either Alice or Lucy, I can't remember the sister's name, I'm sorry. Their parents passed away, and they were sent to live with their aunt and uncle. And both sisters have a gift. Tabby, our main character in the story, she can speak to the dead, whereas her sister can see into the future. But they really exploited Tabby's gift, and she was kind of like there for seances and things like that. So she ends up running away. The two sisters end up running away, and Tabby ends up in this cemetery, and she meets this man, and his name is Eli, and he takes her in as like his foster daughter in a way. And, she kind of helps him, and she does a few little jobs on the side. She does sewing, and then with her friend, she does what's called a watching job, where someone is dying or has passed away. These women, I don't know if this is a thing, I meant to look it up. They sit with the person or with the body until it's time for the funeral, I guess. I guess maybe just to have someone with the person at their last hours, which in all retrospect sounds like it would be a very difficult job, but I can see it being a very comforting job to the person who's passing away. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to die alone. So, she does that. But she has to be very careful and keep her mind closed and things like that, because when the person does pass on, she, of course, then has the ability to talk to them. So there's a whole other story in this with these grave robbers, and, they're stealing bodies for actually Harvard, and stealing bodies for their dissections, and these scientists who are trying to figure out how to reanimate the dead and stuff like that. So it was very, very creepy. Like, there were parts of this book that when I was listening to it, I was sitting here in this room, and I would be like working away, and I'd be listening to it, and no one else would be home. Like, my husband would be out, my mom would be out, and I'd constantly be looking over my shoulder down the hall. Like, it was that fingers on the back of your neck feeling, like that, just creepy. And then there's also a romance in here between Tabby and this guy named Caleb. I didn't feel the need for the romance to be there. It just seemed like it was an afterthought, and Caleb wasn't a very likable character at all for a male love interest in a story as a romance reader. I could see if you weren't a romance reader how it might be, you'd be like, all right, fine, it is what it is. But as a romance reader, I had a real hard time with it, and I didn't like the romance aspect of it at all. This would have gotten a higher rating if it wasn't for that. But yeah, I really like this. We still have a week or so to Halloween, and I know November people typically like to also read spookier books, so this is one that you might want to go ahead and pick up if you haven't read this one. I know she has her first book was The Witch of Willow Hall, I think, which I haven't read yet. But this one was quite good, and I can absolutely recommend it. So the next book that I finished was Love Off Limits by Jenny Proctor. So this one was sent to me by the author, so thank you very much to the author for sending me an e-ARC copy of this one to read and review. It just came out last week. I am part of her e-ARC team, and she sent it to me to review. So I really enjoyed this one, guys. I gave this one 4 stars. It was fantastic. This is book number 3 in the Some Kind of Love series that she has written. These are all available on KU, the 3 books in this series. And I highly recommend it. It is a adorable, sweet romantic comedy. So there's no on-page love scenes or anything at all like that. It's super, super cute. And yeah, like I said, came out in October of 2021, and it's, of course, a contemporary romance. So this is the story of Olivia and Tyler. And what I really liked about this one is that the two of them were paired up for, I think it was their mutual friend's wedding. And typically when you see this trope where they are like a bridesman, bridesmaid and a groomsman paired up for a wedding, typically it ends up being a couple who don't much like each other, like it's an enemies to lovers type scenario. But in this situation, she flipped that on its head, and the two of them really had sparks when they first met, and ended up spending like the night before the wedding texting each other, and then the day of the wedding after the ceremony, and once everything was said and done and they were kind of like, you know, after the dinner and you're just sitting around, that they just sat together and just like exchanged all kinds of information and just talked and really got to know each other. And you could tell that if they lived in the same city, that, you know, this is definitely a relationship in the making. But then what ends up happening, of course, is that Olivia doesn't live in town. The book starts out in Charleston, South Carolina. She goes back to her small town where her parents own and run this farm. And it's this huge farm. They have like an apple orchard. They have a barn that they do weddings in. There's pigs and goats and chickens. And her whole life she's lived on this farm. And she always thought that she would be the one to take it over because she was the only one out of her siblings who really showed an interest in the farm. But then prior to the start of the book, her father had a stroke, and he ended up asking their oldest boy, Perry, to take over the farm. So Olivia's got her nose out of joint on that one, which is understandable. You know, she thought that, you know, her and her dad kind of just had this understanding that it was going to be her, but then he asked Perry to do it. So anyway, she tells Tyler, she's like, you know, I can't get in a relationship right now. I've got to deal with this farm stuff. I need to show my father that I'm responsible and that I can be the one to run this operation. So Tyler, actually, he works for a YouTuber, a very well-known YouTuber who does like daily, like it's like a daily vlogger kind of person. So he ends up being like, he's very unfulfilled with his job. And it's something that really got him thinking when he was talking to Olivia about how what he was doing isn't what he wants to be doing. So he ends up quitting his job and he goes to the farm where Olivia lives and works, like her parents' farm, and gets a job there. And he ends up spending the summers like a farmhand. And of course a relationship goes from there. I don't want to say anything else about this book. It was adorable. It involves a baby goat, which was just super, super cute. There are a great cast of characters. I adore her mother. Olivia's mom is just a hoot. Some of the other characters who are in and around this farm area are just wonderful. I can't recommend this one enough. This was a new to me author. I really liked it. I did not have to read the first two books, although I do want to go back and read them. I'm looking forward to doing so. But you don't have to have read it to get this one. It absolutely reads as a standalone. So go ahead, pick it up, show this author some love, because this book was an absolute delight. The next one that I finished was Christmas at Frozen Falls by Kiley Dunbar. I gave this book 3.5 stars. This was a e-arc copy from NetGalley. No, this was an audio arc copy from NetGalley. And thank you very much to Saga Edgemont Audio who approved my request for this one. The publication date on this one for the audiobook is October of 2020. October of 2020? I think. October of 2021. So it just came out on audio. However, the book itself was released back in September of 2019. So they're re-releasing this one out on audio now. And I would call this one a chick lit / contemporary romance. And it was narrated on audio by Helen Duff. So this one was really cute. It's about a woman by the name of Stella who, back in the summertime, her fiance breaks up with her like a week before the wedding. So she's obviously depressed. She kind of goes through all these stages of being upset about it. And they were supposed to actually go on their honeymoon over Christmas. And they were going to go to some like very tropical island kind of a scenario. So her best friend is actually a travel vlogger, blogger kind of a thing. And she keeps telling her, we've got to still go on this trip together. Like the best friend was going to go with her. And the two of them were going to have like, a great vacation kind of an idea. Excuse me. And then what ends up happening is that Stella's like, no, I can't go there. That's where we were supposed to go. So she tries to cancel the trip, but Stella, her friend's like, you are not canceling the trip. So the friend ends up contacting a friend of hers, and they end up booking a trip over Christmas to Lapland, which is like way up in the Arctic Circle. This reminded me in parts of A Christmas Wish by Tilly Tennant, which is a very similar scenario where a woman suffers through a breakup, ends up going to Lapland and spending Christmas there. So that scenario was a little bit the same. But in this case, both Stella and her friend, what's the friend's name again? I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank. Nari, that's what it was, I think. Nari, Nari. So half of the book was from the friend's perspective. And it's both of them kind of meeting these two local guys and having these like kind of Christmas flings, if you will. I want to label this one a chick lit because it very much feels that way. However, there is some adult content in here. It is behind closed doors, but there is some adult content. Some swearing and things like that as well. I mean, none of that bothered me, but I'm just letting you guys know, which is the whole point of me doing this, is to let you guys know about these books. So, you know, in case it's something that you want to edge away from or you wouldn't feel as comfortable with. But it was really, really cute, really charming. The reason it got 3.5 stars, though, is like I was saying, it's told in both friends' perspectives. However, the main story is told from Stella's perspective, and it's told in first person. Then you go to the friend's perspective, and it's told in third person. So it was a little odd. Like, I just found it weird the way that it was written. I kind of wish that the author would have just done, like, even if it's not alternating chapters, like, you know, all these chapters are Stella's, so you have her name at the top of the chapter, and you know, in first person, this is her telling the story. And then when it moves on to the friend, put her name. Do you know what I mean? I know there wasn't as much of the friend. There's more towards the end. Pretty much the first 25 to 30% is from Stella's perspective. But then when they get to Lapland and things start happening, you start to get the friend's perspective as well. So, yeah, I liked it. It was cute. And I do have another Kiley Dunbar on my TBR for the month of November. Spoiler alert. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It was just a little jarring the way the narration, or not the narration, the way it was written between the two different perspectives. The next book that I finished was a cozy mystery. Then I got into like 3 cozy mysteries, you guys. So we have A Black Cat Sees His Shadow by Finch. So this is book number 3 in a Bad Luck Cat mystery series. The publication date on this one was June of 2017. As I said, it's a cozy mystery. I did borrow a physical edition from my local library. However, I did listen to this on audio, and it was narrated by Amy Rubinet. So, thoughts on this one? I gave this one 3.5 stars as well. So our main character in this one is a woman by the name of Sabrina. And she has a cat, a black cat, by the name of Hitchcock, which I kind of love. So the premise of this story is that, or the premise of this series, is that Sabrina lives in this small town. I can't remember. It's in Lavender, Texas. And she has a black cat named Hitchcock. And she was working at a law firm, kind of got burnt out from her job, and she moved back to Lavender. And she's staying with her aunt, and she's writing a book. So she's written 1 book, and now she's working on her 2nd book, but she's been waiting to hear back from her publisher. So when this book starts off, they're doing a pumpkin, what is it? The town of Lavender is buzzing with tourists and local businesses, pulling out all the stops for a fun-filled fall event. So yeah, it's like a pumpkin, what would you call it? Pumpkin fair or something like that, where you have all these different vendors selling things like jewelry and soap and food items and knitted items and things like that. So there's like this whole big fall fair, and Sabrina's not selling anything, but she lives in town, so she's kind of there. And Hitchcock kind of like runs around town, which is one thing as a cat owner I didn't particularly love. I'm sorry. Cats are not meant to go outdoors. I'm sorry. If some of you have your cats that go outdoors, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. I am not a believer in cats being allowed outside. Too many bad things can happen to them. That's just my opinion. But this cat like ran all over town. Like, he would let himself out of the house and then just run amok all over town. So he ends up, of course, the cat ends up stumbling over a dead body. And it's a guy who was working at the festival who kind of got into an argument with a woman who looks just like our main character, Sabrina. And this woman has a young son and also has a cat that looks just like Hitchcock. So hence A Black Cat Sees a Shadow. So there's 2 black cats in this story. So yeah, I mean, it was cute. It was fun. I'll be honest, guys, it's not one that's going to be super memorable to me down the road. Will I read the other books in the series? Probably, because I do love a black cat. So, and I love the fact that the cat is known around town as the bad luck cat, and she's trying to dispel that rumor that black cats are bad luck. So yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was entertaining, but it's not one that I would say, you know, rush out and read today. But yeah, It was fun. The next one that I finished was enjoyable. I like this one quite a bit. This was kind of a last minute, wasn't originally on my TBR type of scenario, and that was Deserts, Driving, and Derelicts by Tonya Kappes. So I gave this book 4 stars. It is book number 2 in the Campers and Criminals mystery series. Publication date June 2018. This is a cozy mystery, and I did listen to it on audio by Joanna Parker, narrated by Joanna Parker. So this one was short. It comes in at it's a KU book. It comes in at like 200 pages, and the audio book is like 4.5 hours long. So, I mean, completely something you could listen to in a day or read in a day if you so desired. There's like 20 books in this cozy mystery series, you guys, and it's charming. So I read the first one years ago for middle grade March, for March Mystery Madness. Bungalows, Burglars, and something else. I can't remember the title of it. But essentially the plot of this cozy mystery series, it's just charming, you guys. It's charming. Is about a group of, let me backtrack. It's about a woman named Mae West who was living in Kentucky and then, got out of Kentucky and moved, I think, to New York City. And she met and married this very well-to-do man. So she was very well taken care of, kind of a scenario. And then her husband turns out that he was part of this big Ponzi scheme, and he stole money from a bunch of people. So, the FBI and whatever seized all of his assets because he had, none of it was actually his. It was all stolen, essentially, from stolen money. So she was left they divorced, and she was left with nothing. And then in the first book, her husband is killed. He's murdered. So she wants to try and find out who murdered him. Now, when they seized all of his assets, the only 2 things they couldn't take were the fact that he owned a trailer park in Kentucky, in a little town called Normal, Kentucky, and a trailer in the trailer park. So Mae, at the first book, the one before this one, is like, yes, I'm going to go to this trailer park. I'm going to sell it for a chunk of money and start over, kind of a scenario. When she gets there, it's kind of destitute, desolate. It's not the greatest. There's no way she can sell it for any kind of a profit. So she ends up kind of, revamping it, and then she ends up really loving this little town and staying there. So now all these stories take place at this trailer park. So in the second book, an old friend of hers has come to town, and he's kind of looking for a job. He's between jobs and what have you. It's actually her ex-foster brother. And then there's a woman in town who's murdered. So, of course, they want to find out who murdered her. So, I mean, it is a cozy mystery, and I don't really have much to say on the mystery itself. Again, it's a 200-page cozy mystery, you guys. But all of the books in the series are short. And like I said, they're all on KU. They're all also available on audio, guys. They're charming. They are really, again, these are not books that you're going to, oh my God, they're groundbreaking. But if you're looking for a quick, cozy mystery to read, check out this series because it is just delightful. There's just something about the trailer park that I love. And, they talks about her trailer, this little trailer she lives in. And I watch a lot of those tiny house videos on YouTube. And I'm kind of obsessed with the whole idea of living in a trailer or a tiny house. So maybe that's why I get so much enjoyment reading these books. But they're just cute. There are supposedly recipes in the back of the books. There aren't in the back of the audiobook. But yeah, they're really, really fun. My library has all of them on audio. Hoopla has them. So definitely do check them out if you get a chance. And the last book that I finished this week was my dud of the week. I still gave it 3 stars though. And that's A Catered Costume Party by Isis Crawford. Like I said, I gave this one 3 stars. It is book number 13 in a Mystery with Recipes series. Publication date August of 2017, and this was a cozy mystery. I had a hard time getting through this one, you guys. So this one, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen my story that I posted on the first page of this book. And in the first page, this guy is talking about trying for the 3rd time to murder his wife. And spoiler alert, in the prologue, he does. He bashes her over the head with a pipe and then throws her in the Hudson River. So right away, this story started out for a cozy mystery. I found it very ooh, that was unexpected. You usually don't jump into it that quickly. So then it moves to this small town in New York State on the Hudson River. And these 2 sisters named Bernie and Libby own this catering shop. And then the guy who murdered his wife, they are They of course, don't know that he murdered her. They are catering a Halloween party for him. And then during the Halloween party, he's found dead, hanging from a rope in his, or no, outside, like pushed out a window of his second-story apartment, and then found, like, strangled. So my biggest issue with this book, this didn't feel like a cozy to me. Like, a cozy has a certain feel to it. Those of you who read a lot of them know what I'm talking about. Even though there's a murder that has taken place, they still have this very charming, very down-home, very cozy, hence why they're called cozy mysteries, feeling to them. This one felt rough and gritty. It's the only way I can describe it. So the sisters are often, like, swearing, and again, I don't have a problem with that, and I'm not saying that, but it's not something that you see in a typical cozy. So they swear, there's talk of very brutal crimes and things like that. And also, I think my biggest thing that bothered me in this book is that with a cozy mystery series, you're in it for the mysteries, but what you're also in it for are the main characters. That, to me, is even the bigger thing. Like the Hannah Swenson series. Yeah, it's another murder. She's going to solve another murder. But I really like Hannah as a character. I like Hannah. I like her mom, Dolores. I like her sister, Tracy. You get into this, like, you become a part of this community in a way. When you read a cozy mystery, that it's now more about, yeah, she stumbles across a dead body and she's gonna solve the mystery. However, I want to see what the town, like the characters in town, are up to in this book, right? But this one, so you really have to like those characters. I did not like Bernie and Libby at all. I'm sorry. I liked Libby more. I thought she was a bit sweeter. Bernie was a little bit of a harder edge character. But also when I started reading it, in my head, I thought that these two women were elderly. But no, they're young. And I mean, it just, the way they read, anyway, that's what really drew me out of this one. If there are any of you out there who have read this series, let me know. Should I try another one? Was this just a dud? Because I don't see myself at all continuing on reading any of these books because they just, I didn't care for this one very much, to be honest. I mean, I gave it 3 stars because the mystery part of it was interesting, but I didn't care about the characters, and I would not see myself continuing on with the series at all. So, what am I currently reading, you guys? Right now, last night I got like a chapter into it. I am reading a Babysitter's Club book just because I'm in the mood for it. So I'm reading Sea City, Here We Come by Ann M. Martin. This is book 10 in the Babysitter's Club Super Special series. So all the babysitters go to Sea City, New Jersey for the summer, or for a couple weeks in the summer, and hijinks ensue. I'm only a chapter in. This is, of course, a reread for me. I'm loving it. I am also reading in print book form, I'm actually reading it on my Gloss app, but I do have a physical edition here. I am about 70% of the way through this already, and it's Christmas Data Breach by Katie Richards. So this is the 3rd book in the West Investigation series. It is a Harlequin intrigue novel. I am enjoying it very, very much. I will talk about it next week. And again, I picked up an audiobook that I did not have on my TBR, but oftentimes I'll go on my library's Overdrive website, and they have a 7-day loan collection. So there's these books that you can borrow for 7 days, but you can only borrow one at a time. And this book was available, and I was like, ooh, I really wanted to read that one, and this feels just like the perfect time to read it. And that's The Sanatorium, I think is how it's pronounced, by Sarah Pierce. So this is a thriller that takes place in an old sanatorium that has now been converted into a hotel in Switzerland. And I am about 70% of the way through this. I got a good chunk of the way through this one over the last couple of days, guys. It's creepy. It is absolutely creepy, and I am here for it, especially this time of year. It's exactly what I wanted, and I'm so glad it was available for me to listen to. So I'm enjoying this one very, very much. And of course, I will talk about this one more next week with you guys. So anyway, guys, that's it. I've got no new books this week, nothing like that, no book haul, no nothing. I am next going to film my November TBR, so that will be up this week, and I may do a Friday Reads next week. Let me know if you guys want to see Friday Reads again, because I will do Friday Reads. Now that I'm doing these weekly Reads videos, I feel like I can do a Friday Reads, because with the vlog, the Friday Reads just seem to be overkill. But let me know if you'd like me to do a Friday Reads, kind of do a little chatty bit with you guys. Okay, I haven't said anything up until this point because I wanted to see if I would maintain it or not. However, I do have a second channel now, and I've been doing it since the end of August. Some of you may have found me just by sheer chance, and it's what's called FlossTube. I have a channel called Tea and Stitches. I'll leave it listed below in case you guys want to go and check it out. But I do a video over there every week of all my crafting stuff. So if you just want to go for the crafting content, go ahead and check it out. I'm pretty pleased with it. So yeah, anyway. But yeah, I'm happy to do a Friday Reads, quick talk about what I'm going to do for the weekend, what I'm going to be reading on the weekend. Let me know if you guys want to see that. But I will definitely have my November TBR will be posted on Wednesday this coming week. So yeah. So anyway, guys, that is it. I will talk to you all in my next video. Take care and happy reading, everybody. Bye.